Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the 13th One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace. It's Tuesday, October 24th, 2017. I'm your host, Rick Crammond, and once again, we'll be joined by members of the Universal Council, the Earth Council, the Keshe Foundation Core Group, and Mr. Keshe, as well as Caroline of the Keshe Foundation. And I believe we're ready to go with today's broadcast. Caroline or Mr. Keshe, are you ready to speak there?
Yes, hi, good morning, good afternoon.
Hi, Caroline.
Good morning or good afternoon, Rick. I hope that we can start with some positive news, bright news, beautiful contributions from the knowledge seekers worldwide. They are very busy communicating, they're very busy in arranging and creating solutions for people which unfortunately have and got hidden by and are present in disaster zones or in political situations or in war zones or in zones which are not so comfortable for most of us. And there are so many hands that are coming forward to support the work, the teachings, the sharing. It is a beautiful view to see this wave of positive on the move. And it's not so much just to go and hand out food or just hand out something that only will last for those survivors or people in those kind of conditions for short-term periods. No, this time it's a move from the Keshe family as one to bring the knowledge that each one they reach will be taught to be independent, to be able to create whatever their need is at that moment, and then expand their knowledge to become as independent as long as they need until the country restabilizes itself and more other support teams are moving in. Because at the beginning, it's always for weeks. It's not for a day or 2 days or 1 week or 2 weeks. This situation with Dominica and Puerto Rico, Rick, how long has this happened? Does anyone have any idea the period of the amount of time these people are already in this kind of devastation?
I think it's around 3 or 4 weeks now for the Puerto Rico thing.
Now you can imagine 3 weeks, and they are on survival mode, most of them. Our teams are in the starting shoes, they're on the move, they're gathering the last bits of information they need or the requirements. I see in the feedback all the messages passing, and they're linking up. The right souls are linking up. One is part of this, one will support the other side, the teams of the Keshe Foundation in the background, the IT people, the webmasters. The whole family is on the move to see where their expertise can be giving a push to the knowledge seekers that are on the move. They're quiet, they're not coming into public so much because they don't want to waste time. They're running, they're gathering all the information, as the gentleman who just came back from Africa said, I left so much gigabyte behind in teaching, so they have access of the continuation. They can listen to the presentations. So the knowledge seekers are picking up on our presentations and gathering knowledge to where and how they can assist more people to give them more advice or support them that when they move on from one side to another side or to another part or to another situation, that they can leave the knowledge and the teachings behind. Has anyone seen Tom appearing in today's presentation, or Paul? Is Paul present to bring some more news or change in his position?
Well, we do have Paul here. Paul, can you hear us? Do you want to try to speak? Go ahead.
Does he have a stable line?
Yes. Good morning, good evening.
In short, Paul,
Hello,
can you explain how your situation has evolved, please?
Yes, we can hear you, Paul.
Okay. We go back to the normal situation, but in the background there is a lot of movement and manifestation that they have programmed for 31, 32, and then 5, 6 November. So this is the plan for going back to the normal situation. We live like nothing is happened, and from our side we continue our work, and we have submitted the document for the head of government yesterday. So we are waiting for their response. So there is this is the summary and the information we can bring to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Any of the members of the Puerto Rican
we have
support?
Ursula. Ursula has her hand up. Maybe she has something to add to that.
Yes, please.
Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. You asked for Tom. He gives not much information because he's very busy. He organized the expedition. He will go the 2nd November there. He manifests that he wants to go alone so he can establish the situation there and then ask for people to come or materials. They are all right sending to him. It's Fernando sent to him 300 sheets of zinc, and it will arrive before he leaves, so he can take it with him. And then it's all what I can inform you as new, but it's going on the good way. So there are others who, Fernando is preparing a conference to get money to finance also his expedition, wherever he can go to help. And there are much others also proposing and going and receiving, and they organize almost good. In Puerto Rico, they received many containers with water, with food. Also in Guadeloupe, it was very, very difficult also, and San Martin. And they are many countries giving money, sending money, but didn't arrive really. So there are administration problems and okay, but people are finding their way. The most grand problem is the water. The water is infected with dead rats in the canalization, so it's not good to drink. They need urgent to have clean water. This is the most important, because even if bottles are arriving at the port, but the island is big and there are people everywhere needs help. So we must go quickly there. Groups are organizing them and to teach almost also oasis projects, so they can be by themselves and heal themselves and giving teachings. This is the last news.
Thank you, Ursula. Anybody else from the council members have anything to share in their progress of communication of maybe other knowledge seekers which are on the move, which maybe contacted them privately or that they are aware of besides the SOS group? Or have any other members started looking in different directions of support beside Dominica and Puerto Rico?
This is Moshfek. I can speak a little bit about some of the things that's going on here. As you may know, there was quite a bit of flooding in India, Nepal, and Bangladesh. So
can you come closer to the microphone, please, Moshfek?
No, sorry.
Thank you.
Please
don't fade away. We want to hear you loud and clearly.
Yes, thank you very much. Anyway, so what I was saying is that a month or so, a little more than a month or so back, we had severe flooding in Bangladesh, India, and Nepal. And there is, although it was not very well known, 1,200 people died. So the death toll is much higher in this region because of the large area that was affected. And from what I gather, very little help is available. And I will go into a little more about how help is propagated in this kind of situation later on. But for now, and the whole situation has faded from local news as well as, of course, international news. But as floodwater recedes, the disease and the suffering is increasing. And there is not much activity going on from what I gather. I am working with few local organizations to get more information about this situation. We are slowly getting the communication and the way things happen in, I'm specifically focusing on Bangladesh because this is where I am right now. And the information flow is rather difficult, and the voluntary organizations are careful in where they want to go because there are elements that prevent this relief process to go through. So this is what we are looking into in the flood situation. So as is often the case, when the relief arrives, some of the elements that I'm talking about, they gained sort of power or political clout, whatever you may call it, from various, coercive activities. And they want to display their capacity to take what they want, let's call it that. When these reliefs arrive, whether from foreign sources or local sources. So even if someone wants to help, these local elements, some of them can be very highly placed in the political arena that is there, but one has to be careful even in going there, because they will just not let you do anything. So this is something that's quite common, and I have personally experienced, partly because my father, when I was younger, was involved in the educational school facility creation, and he interacted quite a bit with foreign aid, UN, UNESCO, and various other elements. And I know that there are many good people in these organizations who tried to help. And in many situations, it was very difficult to get things moving because of these local elements. And so this, in the flood situation, it is not as bad in terms of, because the possibility of a big relief coming there is not there. So there is not much interest anywhere. So we are trying to find local people who have relatives. And it's a slow process, but we're going through it. Local people to get information about what the situation is. Of course, the communication is not great either. So in any case, so it's progressing, but it's slow. But we are getting information. And once we know how we can address the local coercive elements, the people that are trying to not allow this relief process to go through because they have their interest in getting piece of the action, let's call it that. So anyway, so I'm working through some local relief agencies right now to see whether they can help. And I'll inform everybody as we make progress. I don't think it will be very fast, but our experience will help us in future in addressing these kind of situations. So this is one aspect of the flood victims that have been affected because of the rainfall, heavy rainfall. On the other hand, we also have the Rohingya situation, which is people coming from Myanmar to Bangladesh. And the number is daily few thousands. And I mean, from what I gather, I think it's about 700,000 people so far. And these local coercive elements, which are forcing things to go their way, the reliefs, much more relief is present in this case. So the possibility of gaining through forceful methods is much higher. So as a result, various entities with power are there. And at the same time, we notice that the military is also present in helping the situation. And we are trying to find military contacts who, good people are everywhere. So there are, see whether we can find some, and we are making contacts, but once again, it's not a fast process. So we'll see whether we can approach this situation through the military, because they have the training to work in difficult situations. And we will try to access the Rohingya situation, although it's much more delicate in the sense that the forceful entities, as I was saying before, who route most of the relief their way, tend to come in the way. And one specific situation that's arising is that a large number of the Rohingya people coming in are little kids, and many of them have gone through very traumatic experience of their parents being killed or things along that line. And so it's the handling the children is also one of the big elements, especially emotional trauma, is becoming very hard for the people who are really trying to help. But still, in talking to the people who are the sort of relief organization, they don't want to go there because of these coercive elements that are there, and you cannot safely operate. So in a way, the Togo situation where Paul is going through the military to access other elements of power is, I think, a very good approach, because they not only have sort of a power base, and there are people in there who mean well. So, and we can seek their help and their training, and they have quite a bit of training to make our things available. It will take a little bit of effort. Still, we are in the early stage, but we're trying to explore these avenues. And I'm sure our experience and others' suggestions in these kind of situations who are listening to this will also be very helpful. But these are some of the things we are exploring right now. And both the situations are a little bit different, but there are a lot of similarities. And the experience we are gathering in Puerto Rico, Dominica, and Togo, all of them will be of help, because these kind of situation of elements that force these situations in such a way that the relief don't arrive is very common, not only in Bangladesh or in Indian subcontinent, but other places as well. And actually, I have experience from the other end. I was in a high-tech field, and there was a construction going on somewhere in Africa. And the whole process of these forceful elements coming into and routing resources is orchestrated not just from the receiving end also, but the sending end. And I was very closely associated. Let me just, and without telling much of the detail, of this company that was creating some facilities, an American company. And the abuse that happened forced the CEO of the company to abandon the project, seeing what kind of abuse that happened. And this is in Africa. And afterwards, his company was investigated, shut down, and he was essentially sent to street. He was essentially became unemployed. Anyway, so the abuse happens from both ends, and we have to work sometimes not just on the receiving end, but the sending end as well. So I think right now, Mr. Keshe might have some good suggestion regarding the receiving end. And we know some from the organizations such as Red Cross, how things are done. And one can find out easily what percentage of the contribution go through. But Right now, I'm looking at the receiving end because that's where I am. And I'm trying to see what are the possible avenues peaceful avenues to explore to get this technology delivered to many very poor and people suffering at the extreme end of the situation as it develops. So any suggestion is welcome, and I won't be able to give rapid updates, but I'm trying to make progress, and we'll see what happens. Thank you.
Thank you, Mashfaq. Something came to my attention. I was scrolling through information yesterday, and something came to my mind. It had to do with India. And it had to do with somebody who got touched by the cry of the suffering of the animals in such an extent that she created a wish that she wanted to do something for those animals. And she spoke about it. So her idea was taking more than just an idea, because she expressed her feelings and the pain she felt. And would start sharing her idea with others. Other people start negotiating with her that she was capable of setting up such a project. And through the pushing of her surroundings and people which start getting involved and giving her a hand, the same as with the knowledge seekers, start helping, supporting, teaching, bringing others support in from outside. They start suggesting to her to maybe to announce for students to come in. And the idea was so beautiful because it took its shape. She said, but that is impossible. People coming to help me and pay me for helping me. And they said, yes, there are so many students around the world which are looking for ending their PhD or getting extra merits for their work, or to do an end work or a year work or a paper, to gather information and knowledge. And they go as volunteers for 1 or 2 or 3 months to certain places, like for veterinaries, they search where they can get it into sanctuaries or zoos. Then you have the IT people which try to get into Microsoft or other companies which are working with high tech to gather information, to write their thesis, or that when they finish their doctorate or their PhDs or whatever name it carries, it's the experience they want to add to their resume to propose or to get introduced into a company to get the best job, or at least at as high as they can aim for. Why don't we start announcing everywhere publicly? We have enough people worldwide to start triggering our students. Maybe they're working in the field of agriculture. Maybe they're working in the field of medical. Maybe they're working in the pharmaceutical or IT or international or language or help relief or first aid or anything you can imagine. What is available in the Keshe Foundation can be offered to students for them to receive a certification that they have spent their time with us and they have learned the complete process of what they are signing for. And usually these students come and donate their time. They are connected with other students and organizations which are bringing more help and more support and a broader look up onto the work they are involved in, because students, they communicate. So why don't we start going to our children, or start the whisper, as we say, for students, to make them, let's say, to get the experience in the field of, like in Dominica or in Puerto Rico or in Bangladesh or in India, because they are already on the move. But maybe if we don't put a flag up, we cannot pull their attention towards our knowledge. And it can be with animals, it can be with plants, it can be in any field imaginable, which they want to become an expert in. And I think we should start reaching out and creating the possibilities for our youngsters to get to know the knowledge, to get to know the foundation, to get to know our work and our progress. What do you think? Any suggestions?
Carolina, this is Wayne. Good morning.
Good morning, Wayne.
How are you? That's a good suggestion, because it's excellent. This is the opportunity time for students from the universities or even in high school. They start to have internship, or what what you call it is the extra curriculum for the high school that they can learn. And then for college, they call it internship. But for the doctors, they also have the opportunity to work with the CAS Foundation too. They have to do those to, even though they passed the doctor's degrees already, but they still have to learn some experience. So this is the good opportunities for creating win-win situations, both for the students and the CAS Foundations, and also for the people. So everybody is winning, not just take only, but they go and give whatever they have the expertise. Because I know this because it's in the social work department, social work field. I have to do a lot of internship for free. The first year, for graduate school, the first year is 16 hours, and the second year is 24 hours for free. So those internship is that what you learn, you go into hand-on experience, but also the opportunity to engage with the community. So in every field, we can offer that as the CAS Foundations, and I fully support for that. And we probably have to come up with the plan and to register them and expand it. What can they share and what the CAS Foundation can offer them too. So we create that kind of environment for everybody's worldwide. So that's an excellent idea. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Wayne. I think a lot of us who have expertise know how to get the benefits of the experience. And as we know, we are working in so many different fields. It should not be difficult to create and to put the heads together, how to be able to certify these students that they can work with the merits that they have donated to the foundation in one or another way. Anybody, any other suggestions?
We have Justin Smith here and had his hand up, so maybe he has something you'd like to say.
Yes, welcome, Justin.
Hello, I'm trying to see if I can get to a spot where I have good enough signal. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're quite fine. Thank you.
All right. So I think one of the biggest benefits that to be able to teach, I guess, in a way is I've seen where the workshops are more of every once in a while I'll be in this location or that location. They're never really consistent at, say, a specific place. where people know they can go that will always sort of be there. So like more than just a manufacturing place that's on the map and people know the address, a place they can actually go, be there, hang out. Kids on a level don't want to just sit and learn all day. They do want a lot of the hands-on. So even in these disaster areas, a tent that's always set up, ready to teach and interact with and have stuff ready to teach with, but more so on an education level, classroom type settings where all the imagination, of course, can run free, but also have all the pamphlets, papers, documents, videos, etc., so they can then also try to give us their ideas. But in a location that's always consistent is something I think that really could do us a lot of really good on every level. Not just say a mobile workshop or a workshop that may not be here this week and moves next week.
Justin, I think you maybe haven't been in the part. Ah, no, you couldn't. Sorry. I brought this I brought this request forward in my private teaching. I want to start, or the whole foundation, Mr. Keshe as well, a lot of knowledge seekers, or really trying to see where we can start a school. And I explained to them that I created the wish and I brought it into public to create one base for the foundation where children and parents can do, as we say, brainstorming, sitting down around the campfire, go from classroom to classroom in all the different topics. They can expand their knowledge. And I said, I don't want to carry this on my shoulders. I can initiate and we can support, but I am requesting for the knowledge seekers to gather the support in the wish to create, for it to open up the direction that every desire for and through parents to guide the children through this new knowledge, through a higher level. So you get your confirmation that it will get established. It is started, the process has started. It's just a matter of materializing, finding the perfect location where children can be happy, they have their freedom, they can go and experiment and really desire what they want to do, how they want to do. And it's a matter of it start to create. So I planted the seed and the seed is slowly growing. We are looking for the correct locations. We are not going to go for just one. We're just going to be very picky to make sure everything is there. So that point of reference will be created as a school where children and parents, because it doesn't matter your age to start. When you get intrigued, you get touched, you move on, you do more. And this is the beauty with this knowledge. It doesn't matter how old you are, you can start anytime, any moment, any day. And then maybe the knowledge seekers which come to visit and through their experience then can start setting up, most probably in more different places, a similar way of education center, but that people, as you said, know where to go. It's always there and the doors are always open and you're always welcome and you're always home because you walk into a family.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I really have been behind on being able to communicate, so I appreciate it. I'm not sure I want to put anybody out on the spot, but there's one of our friends in the background that is trying to put together something in Arizona. If you wouldn't mind speaking up for yourself, otherwise, maybe.
Let's hear it. Don't be shy. We're all here to share and to enjoy the ideas and the efforts because they're so beautiful.
I'm just waiting to see if she wants to speak for herself.
Hi, Carolina, and everybody. Tom Salas is present. So if you want to call him to share what he's doing, he is present. So he will.
Okay, we wait a minute until Justin knows something about something, but maybe the person needs more time in progress, or she wants to communicate, or he wants to communicate first in the background before it comes into public platform. But I would like you to share if possible. I don't know your name, so I cannot call you up.
Well, the idea is proposed as a nature preserve in Arizona. Ideally, would be much like what you've said, a place to go and share and have classrooms where there would be the outdoor type setting and everything with nature. Being that Arizona, one is really close, obviously, to the manufacturing facility, but also that the weather conditions are usually rather good. There's not too much snow all the time. The weather's not really ideally unhot. It may be warm, but it's not humid. So even the dry atmosphere, Arizona's a really nice location. It's also how to possibly get others involved, and how we can go that direction. But
Justin, isn't it too hot there? Justin, isn't it very hot? I'm sorry.
Sorry, I've got the presentation if you want to have a look at it here.
Great, please.
It's been sent to me and from Violet, actually. I think she's ready to, she may not be ready to talk today. I'm not sure if that's true, but I can walk through the presentation.
I think sometimes she can't talk online. I think that's her that's her problem. Yeah. I think she sent her work through, and if this is the lady you're talking about or referring to, Justin, we received her idea, and Rick is about to present
exactly it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we are talking on the same line. Yes, communicate so well, I think.
So yes, it's Violet, are you able to speak? Let's see, I think I can make you into a participant here, or allow you to talk, rather, promote you. And if you are able to talk, then you can unmute your microphone and give that a go. Hello?
Hi. Hello.
Hi. Hi.
Hi. Good morning, everyone.
Hi, welcome, Violet.
Carolina, Mr. Keshe, everyone. I am so grateful to be here with you all and so appreciative for everything everyone is doing, and the fact that as a group, so many of you saw my vision and encouraged me to put it forth. This is my vision for the Sonoran Desert in Arizona. It's what I know best, but the best vision I have is that these types of preserves be global. Every single one of us has a place in our mind that we want to hold and preserve. And so I just want to say thank you to everyone for the opportunity to just put this out to the universe. Rick, I hope I didn't insult anyone with page 1. But if we want to take a look at that, these views here with the cute little intro. Are we ready, Flint? Yes, Rick. Okay, cue the music. Rick, welcome everyone. Mr. Keshe is on his way and will be joining us shortly. And as you can see, and I believe these are turkey buzzards. I could be wrong. I can't remember. I took these in 1996, so it's been a long time. You can see him coming in there. And then he perches himself right at the top of the tree. And then Rick says, looks like Carolina's will be joining us momentarily. And you can see the next one coming in. Mr. Keshe opens his wings with all the love in the universe. And he says, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whenever, wherever you listen to these teachings, we welcome you. This means so much to me, this page. I took these pictures as a series, and they've sat since 1996 or 97, and didn't know what they needed to go to. I knew they were special. I'm offering them to you with or without the writing, because as a group, I think these pictures say it all. And I thank you. So on that note, if we want to scroll down, Rick, I will continue here. If I get too huffy puffy, let me know. Okay, so with the visitor center and the preserve, these are just a couple of things that are available just locally where I am. The Sonoran Desert in Pima County is quite vast. It goes from Yuma and as far east as Tucson, a little bit further east, and then south, not quite to the border, but very close to the border. So there's a lot in the area. Excuse me 1 second. I just need to pick up. Okay. I've listed a number of reasons already why this, even with the pictures, why this area is worth preserving. Main thing is we still have land. We're one of the states that still holds on to a lot of lands that were initially given to the state from the federal government. A lot of that has steadily been released and is up for development, but we still have beautiful pockets where we can get nice areas to preserve, a chunk of land to preserve, be it an acre, be it 5 acres, 10 acres. Again, it's vast, and it is also very different in its climates. For example, the shots of the gathering, as those photos are called, that is from a mountain location called Mount Lemon. So there you're going to have your pine trees. We about 10 years or so ago had devastating fires up there that they've recovered from and are doing well. We had a couple of touch and go this summer that they got under control, but they lost the town. It's called Summer Haven. up there. There's a ski resort. It's a nice little area when you want to get away from the heat, Carolina. And then you have other areas as you come down the mountain and you come into the basin. You watch the vegetation change from the more arid to the high desert look and the Joshua trees and things like that. And you just, as you wind yourself down this mountain, you see the change in the plants, in the animals, in the rock structures. It's a beautiful thing to watch. And it's sad to think people just dash up the mountain to go skiing over the weekend and dash back down without even really recognizing in such a short distance the different life forms that they're passing by. As you get down to the bottom of the mountain in the basin and it opens up into the metropolitan Tucson area, yeah, you can be up on Mount Lemmon and it's a nice, cool 65, 70 degrees, and you come down the hill, as I call it, and suddenly you're hit in the face with 105, 110 degrees. Yes, you are going to feel it, but you adjust pretty quickly here. So you just know, that's what happens. But moving on, that's one reason. The other reason is the Tucson metropolitan area and the Sonoran Desert is the home to a major military base, a major player. We also have the hideous title of being home to Raytheon, who within the last few months has made announcements that they have purchased and made agreements and they are expanding, and they are going to be bringing in approximately 2,000 more employees. Sure would be nice to have a place to maybe teach the spouses or teach the children, or just a way in to try to balance these energies. It's close to the Mexican border, and I'm sure everyone here knows of the turmoils that are being forced upon the peoples on both sides of the quote unquote fence issue. So, there's a lot of energies that I think Keshe Foundation Fields of Love can bring to this area that is so deserving. It's absolutely gorgeous. It really, with all the beings, it's amazing. So anyway, the other thing is this particular area that I'm thinking of within the county is relatively close to where John is at the Arizona manufacturing, maybe 100 miles or so. So, it's a very reasonable distance for logistics of getting supplies from the manufacturing that is, already approved in this country down to us. Okay, so I'm going to just read through here and, I'm not screen sharing, am I?
No, I moved to the next screen here. Maybe I was premature on that.
Oh, no, that's perfect. No, I appreciate that. That's where I was headed. I just had something pop up on my screen, and I apologize here. That's why I was just double checking. This need to plug in. Okay. I'm just
doing fine. So
thank you.
Don't worry.
I put into my head yesterday that I was going to get over these little breathing issues and episodes that I've been going through the last couple of days. And I was going to get through this, and because it needs to be said and it's coming from my heart. So Thank you. I appreciate it, Carolina. I'm just going to read this page because it's pretty self-explanatory. Keshe Foundation Preserve and Visitor Center, elevating souls through service to others. How are we going to do that? We're going to provide a warm and welcoming space for knowledge seekers of all levels, a place in physicality. We know we're together, but the rest of the world needs to see us too. They need to know that we really do exist. We're not just a phantom floating through, the internet waves. We are real. We can learn more from each other, from people visiting, the other knowledge seekers. They come, and every one of us carries some kind of knowledge, even those of us like myself that think, what can I give? What can I do? In my condition, what can I do? Instead of thinking, I can't do anything. Oh, I can't do that. It's more of a, you can do something. Everyone has something. You can teach in public, you could do private teachings, you can assist side by side with the local knowledge seekers on, whatever the daily task is. Are we harvesting something today? Are we having public teachings? Are we having arts and crafts class for kids? What are we doing? Working on special projects. For example, right now with, 2 teams heading boots on the ground in devastated areas. And yes, it's not pretty after I've seen typhoons and earthquakes. Everybody does. They think of them in the moment. And in the moment is bad and it's horrible, but it's in the moments after when they really need you the most. And it always seems to go that way for some reason, the short memories that we as humans seem to have. But anyway, I digress. The other thing is, as you come from different areas to share your knowledge, we're there for you. We can provide for you. Let's say that you just want to go on a vacation. You're in Michigan and you want to go to not the Disneyland that's in Florida, but you want to go to someplace in Southern California. And in your travels, we're right here waiting for you. You let us know that you're coming. You have your family, you have your RV, whatever it is. You let us know you're coming. And if you want to stay and hang out for a week, let us know in advance, and maybe you'd be willing to do a public talk. Better yet, how about a private teaching and really amp up the knowledge seekers that are working so hard locally to re-energize them, and then you can carry on to whatever your next mission is. Boy, it sure would be great for Tom and all the others that are, boots on the ground when they get back, to have a place where they can just go and let their hair down, so to speak. Anyway, it's also a place for that wonderful, inquisitive public. They see things like, hubs of activities and things going on. They want to know. You know why? They want to know because it's not possible to have anything good. What's really going on? What's really going on behind those doors? We're trained to be skeptical. And again, with a physical location, we're showing them that we're not just flighty internet waves. Okay, oh, I'm sorry, Rick, if you want to go on. All Keshe Foundation preserves and visitor centers will support Mother Earth and all beings by becoming self-sustaining as locally as possible, obviously, using Keshe Foundation knowledge and technologies. In the darkest times, we're all under the same beacon of light, and that's the moon. And we deserve so much because we, as a race, as beings upon this earth, be it human, plants, animals, minerals, every energy source has truly been traumatized in one way or another. Even the people that appear to have the perfect lives have not lived perfect lives. But we can show them through Mr. Keshe's technology and love that it is possible to live in peace. If you want to go down, these are just some more shots of friends. What will be available? I kind of hinted at some of it, but the Keshe Foundation Preserve and Visitor Center, first of all, is a peaceful place. To assist in maintaining balance in the environment, there will be 2 different but interrelated areas of it. Bear with me one second. Thank you, excuse me. There will be 2 different but interrelated areas available at each Keshe Foundation Preserve and Visitor Center. First will be the areas for One Nation ID card holders. And then the second area, much smaller, a limited access area for the general public and unescorted non-Keshe or knowledge seekers, those who haven't even signed themselves personally to the World Peace Treaty yet. So while we're not really segregating, we are protecting. Again, we want to be open, we want to be transparent, we want to be loving, a haven for happiness. But we also know what humans are capable of. So, this is the only reason. And it's obviously my wish that the people who come and are in a limited access area come to some public classes, get involved, and then they can move on to being a One Nation ID card holder or maybe a 3rd level or whatever we need to do. But that's the basics. Rick, if you want to scroll down. Thank you. Available for the One Nation ID card holders, housing, number 1, a place to hang your hat and lay your head. Small casitas, which are like guest houses, maybe, small, nothing elaborate. Of course, yes, we'd all love to have a resort. And who knows what the universe will provide, but some casitas, camping areas, places for those who do have recreational vehicles or a trailer that are traveling. Those that have their tents, that like to travel with their tents and hang out outside, have small little camping area as well. Inside teaching rooms with small scale manufacturing for teaching. And again, different locations, but I'm thinking the area where I am. I'm very close to John for supplies. However, and it would be nice to have a small scale, because that again is a part of Mr. Keshe's teachings, is how to make these things and do them and to provide them regularly. So we could have them for teaching. We can also have them, the manufacturing, in areas where we don't have a manufacturer yet. At least you would have something in real time going on in another area. Multiple greenhouses for food and teaching aids, pretty self-explanatory. An amphitheater for outside teachings and festivities. Obviously, some areas may not want to be outside. Rick, I think you're probably just about ready to get cold about now. For us here in the desert, we only have a few days of very cold. A lot of things are outside. Our hallways in our schools, for example, which I found interesting, compared to the East and the Midwest. Out here, our schools are flat and have awnings that go between buildings, instead of having buildings with interior hallways. Very different. So having an outside amphitheater isn't the major thing that some people may be envisioning. Walking trails, places for meditation. I'd love to see either a small reflecting pool or a water wall. Again, in the desert, not a lot, but something that brings the water presence into the trails or the meditation area without it being a swimming pool. And open areas for picnicking. Not that there's anything wrong with swimming pools, by the way, but it's a different mindset. And open areas for picnicking and, just hanging out and enjoying. The big one, you always save the best to the last. We need an area for the animal creatures that are part of the Keshe family when they visit the preserve with their humans. So you don't want to be traveling with a horse and not have a place for it. You don't want to be traveling with your dog, your iguana, whatever it is. So Rick, if you'd like to move on to the next page. What we would have for the general public is small building or the front of a small building for use for public information center and a room for public teachings, which I'd love to see, weekly or growing even beyond that, but at least weekly teachings just to get off the ground would be wonderful if we could attract that. Access to Keshe Foundation knowledge, which is worth so much. That alone, just the value of that, people should be banging down the doors. Plasma water, books, and papers by Mr. Keshe, and other products that come from John or other suppliers. Excuse me. Of course, being able to get gains and anything else that we can, the t-shirts that I'd love to put together for the teams, but anything that you would put into a gift shop to interest the general public. Tom and some of the others make beautiful, beautiful jewelry. Things like that. Courtyard area with portion of walking trail to sit and relax while they read the information I'd love to see people walk out the door with a couple of Mr. Keshe's books in hand and walk around the corner and sit down and start reading. Put the book down, pull out a pen, and sign the World Peace Treaty. I would love to see that happening. Next page, I'm sorry, I go to click and it doesn't go. Thank you. What more can be done to spread peace from Keshe Foundation Preserve and Visitor Center? Regional readiness resource for the Keshe Foundation relief teams, providing a ready stock of basic team items on hand when called to assist. And I really can't stress enough how my heart just embraces all of you that have jumped on this idea and just took that bull by the horns and looked it in the eyes and said, we will help you. And they're gone and they're doing it. And we need to have a place when they come back that they can rest up a few days. Thank you, everyone. The Keshe Foundation Preserve and Visitor Center will host a monthly or seasonal farmers market or food exchange to offer any excess foods that have been grown in the greenhouses to the local peoples. Envision with me, please, adults and children of all ages doing a type of arts and crafts style classes using Gaines kits, growing larger and stronger fields, the plasma fields. I can see beautiful colors just emitting from the property as families are having a good time, laughing. You know, let's do this. Let's make bracelets. We're gonna make, you know, something like that. The kids love that stuff. But of course, you dare not approach a child unless you have the parents' involvement. So to get the parents' involvement, we have to get their attention. Eventually, you know, the schools, the teenagers, word will spread. But, you know, we need to get to the young ones from the standpoint of before they are so deeply jaded, before the traumas are as bad as ours. And give them a place to be themselves. Okay, so family, friends, and neighbors, all brothers and sisters, learning together how to balance the soul of the man, Mr. Keshe, at the Keshe Foundation Preserve and Visitor Center, as more and more souls come to know the truth of all things. Peace is available now to all. And then I encourage you to add your wishes here because the list goes on, as do the good works for peace. Rick, if you can go down. Thank you. Before closing, I do want to remind everybody that we are, in and of ourselves, little individual Keshe Foundation Preserves and Visitor Centers. So keep doing what we're doing and just think, what do you want to preserve? And come together. And we can do it in small scale. We can do it in big scale. We can talk, you know, how can somebody that wants to live in a certain area and somebody that's in another area wants to live in a certain area, can we live together? This is a great experiment. You know, we're teaching, we're saying that we can do it. Let's show them we can do it. We are one nation, one planet, one race. Each area will have different ways to make this happen depending on local land issues. I have multiple ideas that, you know, I'd love to work with any of you on. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Keshe. I cannot express my gratitude you allowing all of us to come and openly share what's in our hearts without any concerns on our hearts that we're going to be ridiculed while we're doing so. And if there is a heckler in the crowd, there's someone that'll just stand between you and assist in balancing the fields. And that is something I never thought I would find in my lifetime. So thank you for that. And of course, for allowing me the time to share this information. I am humbled to be among all of you. I truly am. And I'm grateful and so much for your time to consider this. The Keshe Foundation Preserve and Visitor Center. Thank you for being here. And that is all. Questions?
Thank you very, very much, Violet. That was a great presentation, I think.
Thank you. I will turn off now, if you don't mind, and just do the chat window in Zoom. If I need to answer, I can.
Thank you so much for your contribution to shed a different light on the capabilities of the foundation, the capability of the knowledge seekers, that a dream can never be too big to achieve. When the dream and the wish and the intent and the love and the care gets combined, you grow because you reach the other souls which are on your same level to unite. And it's never too big to wish because you are the creator. Thank you so much for your presentation. Maybe we can bring Tom with some good news. Is Tom still present, please?
Yes, he's here and just promoted him to panelist. He should be able to speak right about.
Thank you, Rick.
Hello, Tom.
Hi, good morning. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I hear you well.
We can hear you. What good news are you bringing, Tom?
Firstly, I'd like to say that idea is a wonderful one. I think you've got more people than maybe you realize who would resonate with that kind of way of spreading the knowledge than through, what's the right way to say it? Through techie ways of working, which I realize are relevant. But if you can work through the earth, through your teachings, I think you will find you'll get flooded with people that want to involve into that. So it gets my vote. I think that's a great idea. Thanks for the presentation. Okay, yeah, we have. I can give you a little update on what's been going on. So we're trying to organise the whole plasma relief concept, and it seems like we're getting people interested. It seems like we have people. Oh, hold on a second, just one moment, please, so I can close down my Facebook because it's going ping, ping, ping in my ear. Just 1 second.
Probably all the people trying to connect with you, Tom.
It's exactly that, which is lovely, but the pinging in my ear is difficult. Okay, I'm good to go. Yeah, so it looks like we've got people who are interested from all over the place. So my recommendation is that we put together a little form for folks to fill in to get an idea, because at the moment it's piles of people asking and saying what's going on and how can we help and whatever, and that needs giving a structure. So I think we need a little system in place where we can categorize who is who, what location are you in, what languages do you speak, what's your skill set, where are you at with plasma knowledge, what's your availability, do you have medical skills, and this kind of thing. And I think if that's probably the best way to go, if we get people to just apply as volunteers, if that's the right word, and then we'll be able to structure it. And then I think probably the best way to go is to start working regionally, put together teams. You know, we've got 7 continents in the world, and it would be great to have 1 or 2 teams in each part of the planet, so that if they're available, they can get up and get going where they need to be, and it'll be easier to coordinate. And we can't have, it would be difficult if we have a team from Russia going across to Africa, you know, to try and help. We're going to find there are language barriers, and it's maybe going to be more complicated than anything else. So I think if we work regionally, then that's the way to go. And so, yeah, I put that was my recommendation. I let Ursula know, who was asking me on behalf of the Universal Council what they can do to help. So I think that would be great if we can put together that document. As far as Dominica goes and Puerto Rico, Dominica is still not in a good condition. They're still piecing things back together, and essentially they're still just doing the cleanup. And I think it's the same in Puerto Rico. They're trying to get the infrastructure back in place. So there are roads damaged, there are bridges down. And so they're trying to get those basics back into place. Things are coming back little by little. The schools are starting to open and stuff, which is good news, because that to me means we're going to be able to get from A to B a little bit easier. If that means the villages are connected, maybe by 1 or 2 buses a day or what have you. But that's good news for us, because it means we might be able to get around a little bit more. The lights slowly getting restored in the capital. In a part of the capital have light full time now. But as I've been following, I know Carolina sent me a link the other day, which I'd already been following, and that was the government daily reports. And you can see that you get an idea listening to the government speaking about their restructuring, about what a massive task this really is. And for example, the whole island has lost their light, so they're in darkness right now. And the DOMLEC, the electrical, the people that provide the light, they're trying to restore it. And so what you end up having to do now, the whole island is getting reassessed. And so basically, you're on a poor island where everyone has done their own wiring jobs and what have you, and you're not going to get your light connected if you don't get passed by the light company now. So you've got a scenario that I can see creeping in, where your middle class and your upper class are going to be all right. They're going to be fine. And you've got, as always, you've got the poorer people on the other end who are not sitting on a pot of money to redo their wiring, redo all their electrical work and what have you. They're going to stay in the darkness. And it's the same old scenario. The poor people are going to get hit the worst. And so we've got our eyes on all that to try and work out ways in which we can help and what have you. But you get an idea of the kind of drudgery that comes after a disaster. It's not nice. It's a hustle for people. It's a stress. It's a pressure. Most of all, it's a financial pressure. And so we need to go and give a little relief to that stress and that pressure. And the plasma can help with all that, as we know. So there is a curfew in place also there, which might give you an idea of state of play in the capital city. You can't. I think it's right now. I think it's 6 at night to 6 in the morning. You're arrested if you're caught on the street, and that's to try and keep law and order in place. And that in itself is causing difficulty for people. Just to you can't move after that time. So you can imagine how difficult that's making it for people. It's not easy. They're talking about shifting the curfew hours, but it's still going to be in place, and they're going to keep it in place for a very long time, I think. We just had a nice chat with Carrie Kirastylis on her podcast show, myself and a bunch of other people who want to help. Heather, Yasmin, and Violet, and a few others there. We're trying to discuss some of the ways that we can make it accessible to use the plasma. What's the best way to go after a disaster and whatever. So people can have a listen to that radio show if they like. It's out there on Carrie's YouTube channel, I think, and that's 20. That's 20. Okay, great. Thanks, Rick. That's 21st Century Superhuman. So we're going to do a couple of little radio chats like that, where we're going to be talking about some of the stuff that you can do to implement plasma in that scenario. So that was nice. We enjoyed that. Thanks, Carrie, for having us on. She's wonderful and full of bubbly ideas to help the planet. So thanks for that. And yeah, this Puerto Rico, I'm still in the dark a little bit because we've got Sheila on the ground that's letting us know what's happening day to day, and it sounds like they're in the same situation. Bits of aid are getting in, but they're still in that post-disaster drudgery that's very slow and very difficult to maneuver, very difficult to work out logistics. There are people offering aid and help physically that they can send in and stuff, and we're still trying to work out what's the best way to go with that. So for me personally, I'm going to go into Dominica and then give an assessment once I'm on the ground there and report back how, if people want to send stuff in, how they can. But from the outside looking in, it still seems like it's chaotic. It seems like people are sending packages and barrels and stuff, and they're getting kept on the port. There's an issue about is there any contraband coming in? So that's slowing everything down. Then when people are receiving their packages, they're finding it's already been opened and half the stuff's gone. And there's a bit of a dog-eat-dog mentality, which so we'll hold fire on sending in aid until we get a better idea of what's the way to do it without losing your package, losing money. And the same goes with sending teams, really. Let's be careful about just piling in a team of people into a place and not knowing what the scenario is. For me, it's a lot easier if anywhere where there's a disaster, we have one person on the ground in that country that can become a link that gives us the lowdown on how things are functioning and what the structures are, and then we can start to get an idea of the best way to maneuver, because it just doesn't make sense dumping a load of people on a place with the thought that we're going to help, and then you might just find that they have no idea what they're doing. And so I think everywhere we go, we can move carefully, move gently, and make an assessment first before we just start piling in aid and people and all the rest. I think that's the way to go. So yeah, I think that brings you up to speed. Things are moving along nicely though. Personally, I'm trying to get my life wrapped up here so that I can go leave the family for a month and be out of here and not be worrying that they're okay. And so that's going well. I'm almost done. Big thank you to everybody that's helped out, because I put a little offer up there that we would send out some plasma bits and pieces to anyone who wanted to help for us to raise funds, and we got a big response with that. So that's had me busy also. And so much love to those people who've sent support and donations and all the rest, and that's going to go a long way to try and help with the situation for sure in Dominica. And so much love and kisses and hugs to the people that have helped out in that department. And yeah, you're up to speed. So thanks for that.
Will we get regular updates with you, Tom, or it'll just be when you're able to get to internet connections and so on?
Yeah, it's gonna be according to being able. As soon as I can get to a connection, I'll be in touch. And it's still a bit sketchy out there, and I think probably it's gonna go as they're saying. They're trying to get light connected in the capital by the end of the month, which sounds great. And if that happens, then I'm presuming there's going to be easier access to an internet connection once we can get to the capital. I'm not going to be based in the capital, but I'm going to be based maybe by car. It's only going to be about 15-20 minute drive outside the capital. So if I can get down there, and if the roads are starting to get cleared and open, then I'll be down reporting. I'll be able to do that hopefully on a daily basis, but we'll see. There are lots of unknowns at this point in time. And I was trying to quantify as well my own expenses for being there, which is quite difficult. We're going to have this same scenario with any teams that we send out around the world. Quantifying the cost of things in a post-disaster area is quite tricky because you've no idea the cost of food. We do know that the cost of everything inflates, and people who are running shops are doubling the cost of everything, obviously for reasons that they need to make sure that they're importing stuff, and it's a little bit of a tricky one to untangle because inflation goes flying through the roof after a disaster. But hopefully we find a way. I think that's going to more be the case also if we try and send teams in straight after a disaster, which, yes, it's relevant. And yes, you need people on the ground to try and offer what medical assistance they can give. But in that chaos, straight after a disaster is when it's trickiest to move. So I think we're going in at about the right time. Now, we've got 1 month after the disaster. Obviously, people have died, people are injured. But it's still very relevant, the help you can go and give, because somewhere like Dominica, I know I heard a report from, I think it was the Prime Minister, that said 50,000 people are displaced, which out of a population of 70,000 gives you an idea, so there's still lots of work to do, but it's a little bit easier maneuvering, let's say 2, 3, 4 weeks after the initial disaster than trying to get people in straight away, because that is just like, everything is unquantifiable at that point in time. But so there's my little update. If there's any questions, I'm here, happy to answer. Over to you, Rick.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there any questions?
Tom, I have a question for you. Would it be possible, we were talking about it internally, that maybe Carrie could join you in Dominica to document your work and how you maneuver in this kind of situation, as you're the only one seems to be with sufficient expertise, and that maybe that can be used as a guidance of helping others in other disaster zones if there is, let's say, nobody to be able to go in, but we can transmit the data, what you collect, where you find your material, to show people the path, how they can do and how they can survive. By talking and us printing all the guidelines out might sometimes not be sufficient enough. But when people see where you get the material, how you find it, and guide them through step by step, a lot of people might be able to find their way on their own without even having anybody near them. Because apparently in this communication with Carrie and Heather and you, a lot of these kind of topics came up. So a lot of questions and answers are coming, which are opening our horizon as well, to look deeper into guiding people where they literally can find the basic material to for them to become at any use in these difficult situations.
Yeah, I agree. The more
if Carrie could, if Carrie could follow you on your path, and she's a survivor, and she's a very good documenter, then maybe a lot of people might have a lot of benefit of this kind of documentary. And it also can then be used in the teachings and presentations for people who come online or know something in a situation, that they can apply this for themselves as well.
Yeah, it's a good idea. I'll talk to Carrie and see if she's into the idea, because I'd be happy to have her along. It's a good idea, because
I already have her agreement.
Okay. Well, I'm happy to have her. I'm happy to have Carrie along. Me and Carrie get along well. She's cool, and she's somebody, and this is relevant. She's somebody who's lived in that. I don't like to use the word third world. What's the right term? Who's lived in those basic conditions, let's say, and you become much more aware of somebody. Let's just say somebody who's come from the privileged first world, drop themselves into the less privileged scenario. They might just be overwhelmed, and especially in that disaster zone, it's something we have to be very careful. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you fine at this end. Okay.
So yeah, I was just saying that a little bit of know-how of it strikes me that we've got to not take people out of their environment that they know and are comfortable with, and drop them into an environment that they don't know, and that maybe is just going to, because that disaster scenario is not a pretty one. And so people have got to be pretty hardened and ready, and not be too much out of what they know already. Like, if there's a team in America, great. It would be great to send them out to the relevant places in the States. If there are teams in the Caribbean, it would be great to send them out, because they're not out of their environment. Like, there was talk of sending a Romanian team over to Dominica, and I'm like, yeah, that would be lovely. But I don't want a team of 4 or 5 guys and girls who are just, the environment is so foreign to them that they're lost and they can't communicate and all that. So yeah, I totally agree. It would be very good to be able to document what we do on the ground and make that a little blueprint for what people might encounter. It's a great idea. I would do it also if Carrie's not able to be there, then I would also do the same thing, because I'm all right. I'm comfortable with making little videos and stuff as well. So, but if she wants to come, yeah, wonderful.
She will most probably, and she can find her way, and she will make her way most probably very faster than you can imagine. But for the Romanian team, I would not write them off. I would send them to a more comfortable situation, which is not comfortable, but it cannot be misinterpreted. But I think Puerto Rico will be more for them to be able to work in than Dominica. Because I know from your previous situations, Dominica is, first of all, is not safe. It's not a safe environment. You have to be on your guard 24, day and night, because people just it's an instinct of survival, and that instinct is working more than being respectful and civilized. And I know you deal with these people. I know you find your way with it. I think you will be a great team with Carrie. And I think any other team to start in Puerto Rico and then feed back to the foundation, because they will be more comfortable in Puerto Rico than in Dominica.
Yeah, the last thing we want is to people go in and start to look like targets and start to...
and that's what they will... That's how they will look.
Yeah,
and if you have to start babysitting or looking after people which have no experience, I prefer not to.
Yeah, and it can slow you down. And I think it's relevant sending teams in like that, perhaps as a support team, once a little base has been established, once you've got, once you've done a little bit of groundwork and you're a bit more we know what's happening on the ground. I think then is the right time to start thinking about sending in these teams once there's a little base established and all that, so that there's a little safety net. But sending them in initially might be a little bit iffy. So I agree with you on that point, yeah.
I think you have to create your safety parameters and then give the feedback when it's okay for you, that you can even keep the knowledge seekers safe in their work.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And
Okay.
what about a system?
I understood.
Sorry, I just wanted to... Go ahead, sorry.
Eric. No, it's okay, Rick.
I wanted to ask about what about high-tech systems in that kind of situation, like a satellite phone system, which could be a couple of suitcases of equipment and expensive equipment. Would you want to? At what point would you even want to consider bringing that kind of gear in, or would you? You'd like to travel light, for example. I understand. So.
Yeah, but for sure, I would. Hold on 1 second. I'm just trying to relocate myself to plug in. Just 1 second. Okay, I'm here. Yeah. Again, if you've got someone on the ground who is maybe a native of that place, who is comfortable, who knows, let's use the word streetwise, who's okay with themselves and the environment, then I would say yes. High-tech equipment, not a problem. But sending it in with a team of very foreign-looking, there's that same danger that you're going to end up being a target. So for me personally, in this situation, I would say yes, happy to receive that kind of equipment because I know how to maneuver on the island and not be a target. But again, according to the person in the scenario. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Very good. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yep. And you're welcome. If you still want to, I mean, it's a bit late in the day now to be sending things here to Mexico for me to then take. But if we find out that the routes are open to be able to ship things in and get access to be able to receive something that gets sent, then yeah, we can think about that also. But it's a bit late in the day now, I think, to try and get something to me to take in.
Tom, may I ask you, what is the rate of what has, or is maybe still standing what you built?
Physically what I built?
Yeah.
Everything is A-OK. You're talking about
what you constructed higher in the mountains, those bases are still intact. Yeah,
you can't. It's very difficult to destroy that type of structure. For anyone who's listening who maybe doesn't know what we're talking about super Adobe structures, and they're
to give people an idea, they look like trulos.
Yep. Yeah.
They look like trulos.
They're very space age looking little domes that are essentially they're designed for that function, to function in high earthquake areas and hurricane and any kind of heavy elemental situation. They're good to go. If anyone wants,
you have a place. So you have a place to go. And can you expand that kind of type of security for the local people? Can you expand on that principle?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's like I said the other day, people are a little bit interested in this when they're in the comfort of everything's peaches and cream and life is nice. People will say, oh, that's interesting. And then when you get the hardcore disaster is when people start to say, hey, we want to talk to you. We want a meeting with you. Come and speak to us. We want you to show us, and then obviously at that point in time, you're nuts already. You're busy and you can't do it. But here in Mexico, I mean, it's super relevant. Everyone's living in fear here at the moment because they've just had this huge earthquake. Hundreds of people died. And now you've got real emotional instability, because people are living in homes now that they don't know if tomorrow there's an earthquake, if their roof's going to fall on them. And it's like, that in itself is a whole other subject to look at, and that's a long-term one. And it kind of ties into what the presentation before I was speaking here about creating that kind of almost community environment where you've got everything implemented from safe homes into agriculture, and you implement plasma into all of those, because very much plasma can be implemented into construction also. We spoke a little bit about it in the interview with Carrie, talking about how when you apply plasma into your home and garden, you will create a kind of a security for yourself. You're under a little safety net. You don't see it, but all of us who've been through some kind of natural disaster that have been working with plasma have found suddenly like, wow, we were actually all right in the middle of that, while other people were in absolute chaos. So we know that the fields that the plasma send and receive can create a safe environment for you. So it's very relevant when you're talking about creating a community environment, like was mentioned in the last presentation, where you can really get into, start building your structures safe, start implementing plasma into all those areas. But in the short term and in just after a disaster, it's very difficult to start organizing that kind of longer term stuff. So yes, it's relevant, but on the other hand, I know how difficult it is to start doing it when you're under pressure. It's a job that you've got to try, and it's a long-term job. So you've got to try and get that stuff organized while you're not in chaos.
Tom, I have a question for you. Maybe an idea. If you most probably will bring Carrie to this area which you already built with the local people, and which is those safe domes, I call them. Would it be possible to gather your knowledge, which you took pictures and you know the full A to Z construction of those buildings, to pass this knowledge to Carrie, that she can bring it out as a documentation? But maybe it would be a very good idea, if matters calm down, to invite students and knowledge seekers to come to this area, to come and to support for 1 or 2 months, to help to expand these kind of constructions, because these islands are on a continuous base of danger. They're never safe. They have their intervals of peace and tranquility, but we know when these kind of disasters pass, it is absolutely not pleasant. But if we can expand this knowledge and implement the plasma knowledge within the structures and through the agriculture, as you have done and documented well, then maybe we can expand that kind of knowledge identical to Puerto Rico or to Mexico or to India or to Bangladesh, where people are in the same kind of disaster zones.
Absolutely.
And create safe havens.
Absolutely. You remember a couple of years ago when you and I were talking a lot, when I was up in Dominica after the last disaster, or one of them, I was mentioning that to you, right? I was saying, you've got to start thinking about looking at safe housing and how that can be implemented. And we've got this knowledge, and it's really simple. It's very doable if you've got a little team of energetic. Don't even have to be young. No, if you've got people with energy, you can do this stuff.
I have this in mind, Tom, because I know Italy is going through trembling zones and episodes as well. And I know the knowledge seekers in Italy will be very glad to receive this, to create these kind of structures, because it's mostly the people which are in the countryside, which are totally abandoned. They have nothing left. Everything is gone. And they have to survive in tents. And the winter is coming. And if you could provide us that kind of information to Giovanni or
Yeah,
Stefano Valdez before you leave, it would be a great help, because they will start studying it and start implementing it. And it is much easier to work because they already have this kind of knowledge through the true laws from the past. Instead of building tents, they can build permanent homes, which the people don't need to be afraid that everything's going to collapse around them.
Yeah,
That's why I'm bringing this back, because you're the carrier of the knowledge.
Yeah.
And they work and they have the other side of the plasma fields, and it will be a great combination to create safety for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's super relevant right now. And personally, I can't think of anything worse than being in a structure with my family in a shaky part of the world, wondering if what's going to happen to us the next time. You know, that's living in fear, and that's no.
And I think your knowledge about this structure will be very welcomed by the rescue team in Italy, because they have quite different parts of earthquake zones, which they have no solution for the moment.
Yeah,
they can only place the people in tents and temporary buildings, which are not sufficient enough because they can crumble down too.
Yep. I've got a PDF document that I managed to find online, or somebody actually. What I did is I studied this building technique for a while, and then physically studied with some folks who were teaching it, and then bought a book that had all eventualities in it, every eventuality. And from that book, I then built 1, 2, 3 structures, and at the end of it all, you've experienced everything you're going to need to know to be able to do that confidently. And somebody sent me a link to this this book the other day. So this book, you were able to see everything you're going to encounter, from the environment you're working in, the materials maybe you're going to be able to access where you are, and all that kind of thing. Every eventuality is in it. So what I'll do is I'll make that PDF available, and folks can, it is in English, but folks can have a look at that, and then I'm available if anybody wants to know, if you want to get online and ask questions about what the reality of it is, because it can be a bit daunting. Because as you're looking at building your own home, and especially if you're somebody who is not confident, who has not done any construction work before, you will feel daunted, because you'll be reading stuff like, you know, there'll be some technical language in there that you won't know. But essentially, I can demystify all that for you and put it into simple terms, a bit like I can do with the plasma also. It's quite that, you know, there's a comparison to be made with the plasma there also, that it seems like it's massively complex, but really you can boil it down and put it into understandable terms for people, and that's what's relevant.
And
that's
we'll
the reason.
We'll get some videos from the field as well, perhaps with Carrie there and whatnot, and see some actual hands-on construction going on, perhaps.
Yeah, I built a huge, but no, it's not huge, but a home for my mother. High up in the mountains there with quite few resources and stuff. Two of us did it, myself and a friend, and it was a monumental task. And I have to say, it took me from boy to man. It was like, really, it was a very intense experience, because there were just 2 of us doing it. I mean, it was wonderful. It was amazing. It took a lot longer than we wanted it to and whatever, because we thought we were going to be able to raise a team to do it. But I think in these times, getting hands is going to start to be a lot easier than it was in the past. Because people are starting to see that this kind of knowledge is just getting more and more relevant as we go along, and it needs simply putting into the hands of the people without it being too complex. And I seem to have the ability to be able to do that now and keep things nice and simple and practical. So yeah, I'm happy to help with that. I'd love to see people starting to build like that, because it's security, and the way we're all living at the moment is just, I just step back and shake my head about what are the standards that we live in. That it's frustrating for me. And as I've said before, I've tried. It's a bit like screaming at a wall. I've tried to make people start to see that you can implement safe housing, you know, using the plasma to create our own health and wellness and all, you know, like people are not ready to listen, but as disasters start to happen and as people are waking up to, and as people become more conscious, they're starting to see.
Tom, you have found thousands of ears which are eager to listen. You found your door, and that's why I brought it forward, because people might have not been ready at the time when you were working and I saw you developing it. But I think a lot of countries will start looking into your safe house building, because that's the reason why I said, are they still standing and are they still safe?
Yeah,
because I saw you constructing them.
Yeah, the only message I've had from Dominica, and it was a third-hand message, was that my family is safe and all structures are still up, and so that
Great.
was, to me, was very, very nice news. I don't have any more details. I don't know what condition everyone's in, but and I was sent a funny link the other day, and it was CNN reporting from Dominica, and in midway through the report, they were standing outside my little restaurant that we had by the bay, and it was very nice to see it still standing. So yeah, I'm here. I'm happy to share that knowledge. I'd love for people to start implementing the two things. Me personally, it's a little dream of mine to see the two subject matters collide: plasma and safe construction. And a lot of people are thinking about it now, and I don't know how many people are implementing it, but I'd love to start playing with that stuff. And it's not a fairy tale. It's hard work. It's hard graft, but with many hands, it gets easier.
It's actually the promise of the Oasis system in many ways, as you incorporate different parts into it.
Yep, very much so. And it's why I like the idea of the presentation earlier. It's holistic. It's everything. The full holistic idea of living clean, sustainably, safely, in a state of wellness. And that's where things flourish, and that's where you can really start to live life, and it be a beautiful experience rather than this grind we're all used to at the moment. You know, we're getting the third dimensional grind, and there are ways that we can change that, and they're not difficult. It's just about fundamentally changing your concepts of what is normal and what are the standards. And that, you know, we got to fight against the tide a little bit, because quite often, depending on which country you're in, they'll tell you, no, we're not going to let you build like that. There are no building codes that this doesn't comply with this code and that code and whatever. But then you're on fertile ground if you move in after a disaster, because you can say, okay, there was your house that had the building codes. Where's its roof and where's its walls? And then you can take them to look at the one
Tom,
you built.
there is something else I have to make.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, I want to bring something which you are overlooking, but you're missing the most important part of why you succeeded and why you could be able to create it, and that you know now that the time is right to go in, because you speak from your heart. You have been working. I've seen you going through the stress and the frustration, but you didn't give up. You gathered and you worked through your knowledge and gathered more knowledge and implanted more knowledge. But the main factor, what I have seen, which I kept track on you mainly, was because you work through your heart, you work through your intent, and you're there to give. And that's where, and what you have realized, and you have put a lot of knowledge seekers on the same path as you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Your beauty is coming to creation of your wish. And I think a lot of knowledge seekers where you're in now they will go through your structures. They will come and bombard you with a lot of questions. And if Kari can join you, then we can maybe simplify it through the step-by-step, because most probably you're going to start creating more. And then people will have a good idea what you're talking about. And I appreciate your sharing and your knowledge.
Well, thank you. You guys have supported us all along the way, and that's what helps when if you're feeling like you're going through the struggles alone, it starts to feel like you're on an eternal mountain hike going up. And if you have support and you have people, emotionally supporting you, it can be physically, it can be emotionally, but if you get that support, it helps a lot. And we've gone through many struggles, and I think like a certain amount of stamina is needed in these times where you just don't give up. You keep moving through it now, and there's always looking at the solutions, and like you say, coming from your heart and getting in that state of giving. And we're living that now. We feel like we've been giving and giving and giving for a long time, and we're starting to receive back. And I'm in no way talking about money or anything like that, but since working with the plasma for quite a few years now, we're starting to see that, we're creating our own reality little by little. And as you stay in that state of giving, you will always receive more, and the intent you put out there will always get matched. And it might not be in the way you were expecting it, but it always happens in the strangest of mystic ways. And now I live like that, and I have given myself to that, and I have complete trust in it, and don't get fazed by anything anymore. I've seen enough, and I've gone through enough to see how the universe functions, and it's very uncomplicated. It's simple, and you've just got to move through each situation that you are experiencing, be it a good one or be it a challenging one. And at the end of it, there is always fruit for you. Something will happen, a door will open, something will come and make itself available to you in the strangest of ways. And you will find that you will end up being where you need to be, with the people you need to be, doing what you need to do at the right moment. And once you stop the resistance, and that's something I'm trying to teach these days, is that there's a wave of resistance around this planet that we must resist. We must resist these energies that are here. No, don't resist. Find solutions. Put your energies into solutions. And once you focus on those solutions, hello, love. My little boy is showing me a bee. Wow, that's pretty. So once you focus on those solutions instead of that resistance, the doors will open. That's my piece of humble advice for anyone who's listening.
But also the main red carpet which is running through it is the trust in yourself, that you always end up on your both feet in a safe place, that your soul is always guiding you, no matter the challenges, no matter what is coming onto your plate, but to follow your heart and trust.
Yeah, and there's a beautiful lesson learned in everything, even when it's wrapped up in what appears to be chaos, or what appears to be disaster, or what appears to be some situation that feels like adversity. If you're able to get into a position of observation where you are looking at what lessons can be learned from that, you're able to manage what's happening in front of you, and that's becoming more and more relevant these days. We're all experiencing some kind of stress and pressure.
But isn't it the beauty, as you spoke it out, but you most probably didn't stood still by it. You said that you have increased your strength and your stability to trust yourself. And no matter what comes, you simplify it and trust the path. And it actually is increasing your capacity. It's increasing your fields and your knowledge.
And I see that as soul growth. I see the soul getting stronger. And as the soul gets stronger, every field that you absorb, you're able to match it, and you create what I call like an energetic loop, where if you match adversity with strength and courage, then you'll create that loop where that is what will bounce back at you. And if you're there to receive those fields, then you're able to move through any situation, and you will be protected, and you will be guided by, be it higher self, whatever the word package you want to call it. No, but that will get matched is my experience. And I don't know how many people live like that these days, or how many people see that. I guess there are a lot of knowledge seekers out there that are living that and can see that. But we need to share that knowledge, because it's getting more and more and more relevant day by day.
Thank you so much for your input.
You're very welcome.
Hello, Tom.
Thank you very much, Tom.
Yeah,
hello, Tom. This is Chao from Universal Council, and I have a question for you. You mentioned that when you give out, you always receive something, although it's maybe not in the expecting way, but it always match what you give. And so I think it's you learn this in your own life in helping others. And my question is, so if Keshe Foundation recruits some volunteers to help in the disaster areas, and maybe we need to train them and prepare them in a correct position before offering helps to others. And so what's your idea that can help the volunteer understand the principle that they will receive, and what they receive will match or they give in their following work, even it is not expected as they do. And so I mean, how to educate the volunteer in their emotional way to do the correct thing.
Yep, you're absolutely right. And I think that most folks who have been studying plasma, be it for a month or two, or be it for the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, they've encountered this in some way in working with the plasma. And so my advice would always be that, well, we're living in a plasmatic universe, and that anything that you can see in front of you in the plasma experiments you're making can be applied out there. As Mr. Keshe was saying the other day, from the micro to the macro, you will see it. It will reflect back, and it's a continuation of those teachings, but it's getting applied in different areas. You might not feel like you're working in plasma technology, but it is the same stuff. You're working with energetic fields everywhere and in every moment. And so I think if we've got knowledge, it's why it's a very nice idea to send knowledge seekers out into areas that need help, because you're absolutely physically applying what you've been learning, maybe from your comfortable, whatever your environment is. Now, we're all over the world and we're all living in different environments. Some are more comfortable than others. But if you're able to take the knowledge that you've learned through plasma and start applying it practically in situations, be it with plasma or be it just with your own support in whatever way, it can be physical, it can be emotional. But yeah, you're right, there needs to be a continuation of that understanding of giving, receiving, pushing, pulling. There's those two forces are what govern our universe. And once you make sure that you've got them balanced, you'll be in the right place at the right time. Everything is perfect. And now you're in now your fields are there perfectly functioning in balance. Life starts to give you what you need. And I think it's a great way for knowledge seekers and anyone else in the world who's wanting to maybe expand themselves and offer something out there to the world, to the universe. It's a wonderful way that they can really experience that knowledge practically. So yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah. It seems to me that through the helping others in the disaster area, knowledge seekers or others can learn the ethics of the universe, or through this process they can find they can obtain some ethics or some different view of the world through the practical offering of help.
Yep, I agree. And we've had imprinted on us, if you're born into this time and this age at this moment, we get certain standards and programs imprinted on us through society, and they're not always correct and they're not always beneficial. And it's about shedding off some of that, some of those standards and as I said before, not resisting them, but just coming up with alternatives and solutions to those standards, and breaking out and breaking free of some of that, some of those things that we encounter if you're born on this planet at this time, and start to come up with alternatives and solutions. And here is where you will find you will start to create a little magical spark that people will appreciate it. And anyone who's in observance of you, and I can make reference to the talk that Mr. Keshe gave the other day, which was very much a soul teaching. Once your soul is open and giving, you will affect the people that are around you, and you will start to create that little energetic loop in which good things will start happening. And the more people that can shake off the old programming and start to come in with new solutions which are beneficial to all, not just to one or one man's pocket, and not just to the high guy in the suit, to all, at that point, we'll start to see some progress in the planet. And there are many, many, many of us here now that are here working for this reason, to bring new energies here and try to bring some positive solutions to what seem like a big mess. Those of us who are in observance of the planet holistically right now can see that there are a lot of messes that need fixing on the planet. And we've got really nice bag of solutions in our pocket. Those of us who've been looking at plasma, we can step forward and really offer something lovely to humanity right now. And we all are starting to see that it's not just about a free energy unit. To me, that is actually the least important element to all this. I know that there are a lot of you out there who are very much focused on energy, but to me, I see the whole thing a lot broader than that, and that we're starting to see solutions in full spectrum. And in there gives us a beautiful bag of tricks in our pocket. No, it's not tricks. It's just a beautiful bag of solutions in our pocket that we can share with other people. And yeah, once we get our soul intact, our soul in a state of giving, we're going to provide some inspiration for the people. And that, to me, anywhere you move as someone who is working with plasma, you'll start to see that you'll be able to wow people with the little bits of info that you have and inspire them. And to me, that's what life is. If you can inspire one other person, you've achieved something for your day. And they're going to go ahead and they're going to share that little bit of inspiration that they've just received with a friend of theirs. And so it's going to spread. And that's light spreading. And it's a thing that can only increase. It will not contract. It will increase. And that's, many of us are here on this planet right now to try and get people in focus to that these are universal energies that we can tap into and expand instead of contracting. And let's hope that anyone who puts themselves out there as a volunteer to helping out in these scenarios, I'm starting to see that, okay, the start point might be disaster, but that is going to expand very rapidly into all other areas, and it eventually is not going to need a disaster for teams to go out there doing this sort of thing. They're just going to be out there doing it in any area, sharing what they know in any area, creating solutions in any area of the world, be it a disaster or not. So that's my wish. I hope to see that flourish, because it's a very nice idea.
It's really nice to hear you talk about this. At the beginning, you talk about how to practically help people to build the safe structure, and now you are talking about the ethics or your views behind your behavior. And this talk are really inspiring, and I'm present with your wish that we will be more sharing on the world to help people when they are need. Thank you very much.
Thank you, brother. Thanks for the support. It's much appreciated.
Tom, this is Ted in West Virginia. I'm present with your wish, and I wanted to let you know that you've really inspired me to do more. So it's definitely working.
Beautiful. Well, that's made my day. There you go. Thank you.
Hello, Rick. Can you read the message in the private chat, please, Rick?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Tom. As I've learned a lot from you the last time, a couple of years ago, when around about the same time you came, asking for helping the others and not yourself. We see the same man again in the same clothes, going out to help. There is something which I have to say, because I know Tom is near to his loved ones. The last time his family went through literally what we call hell. I give a lot of credit. I give a lot of admiration to his wife. She stood a lot, knowing he was in the disaster zone and knowing that she went back, leaving him behind to help the others. So much what we see at the front as Tom is what I call ode to the lady behind him and children here. This is part of when we take this kind of path of work. Our nearest, we feel they know, they understand our emotion, and we trust they will understand. And in so many ways, our wish, our support, our soul goes with you and your family. And I know your wife went through literally hell last time with the situation in the island and going back to Mexico. But what it inspires is that we don't give up. If it's in our grain to help others, we forget the pain of the past and we carry on with the new hope of the future. It takes a lot, and I've listened to all the presentation of the members of the Universal Council today, and what is interesting is this part of Tuesday workshops is not a workshop anymore, it's a one nation, one planet. And in so many ways, when we touch about the feeling of the people in one island, it covers every other human being. In so many ways, some of it are man-made, some of it are made by nature, and some of it was a combination of the two. And we are vulnerable in the essence of physicality, that we get entangled in these things for us to understand our strength. But when I listen to a lot of these works which is going on, is we heard today about building a center, a place to be for people to go. We see the condition of what Tom and the others are trying to do, is with the new technology, we have to go one step further. Otherwise, we are doing what we've done for centuries, for thousands of years. In so many ways, we have matured enough to understand we can support in so many other ways, not necessarily by a dynamic system or not necessarily by a MAGRAPH system, but in the teachings, I try, especially in the recent past weeks, to take humanity into the next step of evolution. How do we help people in disaster in deeper space? Are we going to go there? Are we going to be there? Or are we going to learn a new way to inspire through our souls with their souls, that we change, we give to their souls, that their physicality accepts changes and progresses to the next step, that what they are in is irrelevant because now they're elevated to the next step. They understand more. In a way, they go more to the center than going outside, by understanding more of the essence of the creation. So with all the things we are doing in the foundation, with all the volunteers, knowledge seekers, we have to change the process of negotiation, the process of what we call relief, the process of elevation of the soul of the man. We hear from Paul that the situation has changed in Togo. But how many of us have given from our soul to the leaders of whatever, the Catholic Church, the Muslims, the government, the opposition? This is what we should have done. We still write in the pen of the man to negotiate. We still make the voice of the man to negotiate. But we have to learn, we got to step up. We got to understand the new way, the new understanding, the new intellect, the new inspiration that we are part of it. We can make a change without being there. We got to understand very much, as I explained in the teaching of last Thursday, the space between the island and us is that two men between the father and the child. We got to learn to inspire, to use our souls to elevate. Many of us, without knowing or not knowing, have connected to the people at the island through being the soul of Tom, be the soul of people who are there, being by emotion, hearing the need of the soul, which ended up with the physicality. This is part of the teaching which we try to inspire. You don't need to be, as we educate ourselves, to make the change. Building a shelter, a brickwork, a tree to create shelter, these be done for centuries, but we never progressed. We're still doing the same thing and nature takes its course. We got to go to step up. We got to go to next level to be able to reach, to bring the soul of these people, doesn't matter where, at peace, be it world leaders, be it man in a disaster, be it people who inspire to do greater things for humanity or other creatures in the universe. We are still partially what I call, we are in an ostrich condition at the moment, especially in the past few weeks and months, where we still, as you know, I always use this terminology in the Arab world, they call it ostrich a camel bird. They say, where is your feather to fly? He says, I'm a camel bird. They say, if you're a camel, where is your hump? He says, I'm a bird. We are in that stage. We have stuck very much to the physicality of the past. And now we are understanding the power of our own soul. And we switch because we have not gained confidence to understand we can make change in this island. Most probably a shelter, most probably we inspire others to go and teach, but let's go one step up. Let's go to the new way. Let's elevate the soul of these people in the island, that they have the same amino acid as us, they have the same strength of zinc and magnesium, which is made part of the construction of our brain and our soul and our energy essence, and try to reach them. We help with physicality, with making core advances, but let's join the new era. Let's join the new dimension of understanding we can elevate the soul of these people very rapidly. We heard Paul speaking, things in Togo are quiet, it's changed. How much effort has been put to elevate the soul of those who have been creating mayhem in Togo? Enormous amount. I don't close my eyes and I wake up past days. It's just to elevate the soul of all of them. The priest, the archbishop, the imam, the mullah, the opposition, the leaders, the army, and gather the soul of those who have fallen because of this. This is the new way to do it. It's not just suddenly everything has quietened down. We elevate and people see paper handed is nothing but physicality of the man. This is what we got to do. We reach people in these islands, in Bangladesh, in China, or wherever. We got to understand we have a new tool. Another new tool. We have a tool we did not know how to use. It's like somebody giving you a hand drill, the latest, and you don't know what it's for, how to use it. You know it's a drill. It's there, you've seen it being used, spoken about it, you can read about it, but you don't know what it means and what you have to put to fit for what. If you're an engineer, when you are given a set of screwdrivers, you know each screwdriver, each head, the thickness, the fineness gives you the pressure, the power you want to use. But you put the same screwdriver in front of a man or a woman, a housewife, or a man wife, or whatever, or a young chap, he picks any screwdriver and he uses it because it's just a screwdriver. It's there, I know it is. This is what has changed now. We have to understand what fits, how fits, and the drill is our soul. It's us who gives the energy which creates that motion that gets things done. And now we have the tool. We know what tool we've been carrying, what this drill is for. It's full of energy. It has everything which we want to do with it. But up to now, we were told it doesn't exist. It's somewhere. Now we know it's us, it's within us, and try to move into the next step. I brought the same subject in a very candy way with the doctors 2 or 3 weeks ago. Move away from these coils, move away from these dynamic systems. You are the next generation of medicine man, not by herbs, but by the soul of the man. You're the givers, you're the lovers. So I hear a lot. We have to build this, we have to do that. If man learns in a very simple way how to operate, in the coming teachings I'll teach, his own soul in conjunction with the soul of his physicality, which every cell of the man has its own soul, you create shelter. You create light. You create vision. You absorb energy which you need. You create a condition. A man who's in disaster has a lower strength. By you giving, you allow him to create that shelter. You allow him to create that energy which calls food for him to survive. This is what I said in the past few teachings. We are going in a new dimension of teaching, new understanding, and many knowledge seekers have started testing the power of their soul, understanding they are in charge, understanding I can make the difference. They tested with their lovers, they tested with the children, they tested with other people, but now gradually the numbers increases, and this is the whole purpose of these teachings. 5 years, 4 years, 10 years of continuous teaching is getting to its pinnacle. It's getting to the top where now we understand the epitaph of the whole structure is the soul of the man. And us are in charge of that soul. Nobody else. It goes to the next step that we got to learn is that it's the story of the father, the king with 5 kids, where he gave a straw to each one and they broke. And he put 2 straws. And when he made it 5 or 6 or 10, they couldn't break it. He said, when you get together, like the sticks, nobody can break you. When now we have to learn is how to join our souls, how to become united, to become one family, one nation. Then we reach these people without flying a single aircraft, without looking where the food would be. We give them in a time of need what they need through our soul, that they create that shelter, the shelter of peace, the shelter of tranquility, the shelter that in a way through fields of their strength which we give, brings them to elevation of the soul that they can physically protect themselves. Then it doesn't matter wherever you are. The old song says, wherever I lay my head is my home. Be it an island, be it in deep space, be it in the ocean. So when we start speaking as part of the teaching of the Universal Council or the Earth Council, we have to move on. Getting on the boat, getting food. We've done this for thousands of years. Has it changed? Sacrificing young girls, that it changes and brings prosperity. Has it changed anything? Because we never understood it's us who can. It's us who make the decision to change. And we have to go to the islands to do, but the collective soul of the Keshe Foundation supporters, knowledge seekers, people who hear the voice of the soul of the others, is to gradually to become one. Gradually become one soul. Gradually to understand is not me, is us, is not one island, is the whole island of planet Earth which is suffering. We're all on an island floating on the magma. And we all get hit with different ways during the time of our lives. So let's move to the next step. Let's move away. And as I said, be the camel bird. We still have to do the two till we gain confidence. We came from matter to nano and the GANs and energy of it and the fields of it. Now we understand that field is us, that GANs energy is us. This was no other way to teach man this, unless the man could see it to feel it. So this time around, we can, we do, we will, and we go to the next step, getting people in islands to teach, to shelter. But what about if we use the soul of the man to reach the man? So many of these, what I call temples of heaven, having somewhere to read and somebody be there, always been done. It'll be done. It'll be done by the Keshe Foundation supporters. That's where they can learn from each other. But the new way is, let's make a heaven for the soul of the man. where we become one as one soul. In diversity, we bring the beauty of the nature of the Creator. And that Creator is us. And in some of the teaching we heard a few weeks ago, the 100 beauties of the soul of the Creator, which is our soul. And see, I want to reach, I want to give from my soul. This is where we have to go. This is where we've got to develop. This is where the future of human race will lie. Not trying to move hurricanes, not trying to feed people with dynamic system. The dynamic system is our soul. And as I said in the other teaching, let's change the course of humanity. Let's move up. We know our soul is there. We know it's dynamic. We know we use it for everything to construct our own structure. Let it loose. Let it be reached by those who cry. There are many people we do not know today in an island. They get caught in a hurricane. They're in a car accident. They're in a shipwreck. When the man opens his soul, he reaches the totality. And there's so many souls available on this planet who are open to give. We can reach and we can change. We cannot stop the accidents. We cannot stop the course of the nature in the universe. This planet is, as I've said many times, what we see here is not even a child play. It's a tiddly-dum, tiddly-do in the womb of the mother by an unborn child. In the deep space, the conditions are worse. But the men of the universe, the creatures of the universe have found the solution, how to help, how to support, how to be there. And this is how they do it. This is how we have to elevate in one go. Many times as you go to the teachings, we say the weaker magnetic field system takes from the stronger. The people in disaster, the people in pain, the people in suffering have been taken from soul in a weaker position. They are there to receive. It's for us to be there to give. It's openness, it's seeing a light. When you give, when you look inside you, you don't see light in front of you. You see light tunneling through internal structure of your body. When I give, when I go to the point of changing and bringing what it needs to be done to elevate and to relieve suffering, I don't see light in front of me. The eyes are blind. The inside is a tunnel of light. It's a beautiful light. Your eyes turn internal and you see your own soul. When I'm trying to find words to explain it, it's very much if you've seen this, what I call magic pipes, where the water tap is on the top and there's a glass of or jar of water and there's no connection to the tap, but the water flows and you wonder where the water comes from. But if you're wise, you see actually the water is pumped through the center, that it comes through the pipe out. When you give from your soul with sincerity, with absolute detachment from physicality, that's what you see more or less. Especially when you put a light in this water, which is coming up from the cup up to go to the tap, and the tap comes out and you don't see it because it's covered with the plastic. The water covers the plastic. That cover is the physicality of the man, and the water going out, there's the soul of the man which gives. If you can reach that point, then you can reach all the souls of humanity and the rest and beyond in the universe. You don't see with the eye of the man, you see with the soul of the man. You see the totality, what you're made of, a beautiful shining light. This is what we need to understand. And when one soul which you see shines internally this way, put all the soul of the man who elevate to that point, is the sticks with the king children. Nobody can break, and you can reach the whole of the planet. The teaching, the way we teach, we are approaching that point. But first, we have to purify the soul of the man, not the eye of the man, not the emotion of the words. Then we can go to the next step. Then we can elevate these people. Then we can change the course. But you got to understand, a lot of people have a lot of learning to do through disasters, to do the position, to understand the strength of their soul, to find out what they are made of and what they can give to be able to be detached. And this takes a lot of self-confidence, and it takes a lot of wisdom. And this is what the purpose of all the teachings are, all the putting universal councils and the earth councils and the rest in, to unify this field force of this planet with it, that become one of the sticks in the bunch of the souls of the universal community. Becomes another straw in the bunch, that it gives the strength to the bunch. There is no other way to explain it, but in time, man will understand these words. In time, it will be deciphered by those who get enlightened. So we have to carry on with the physical dimension of going and being in places the way some of us are doing. But some of us who are moving in the next level of understanding of the creation will understand they can do it with their soul. Because I made man in the image of myself. The Creator reaches everyone without being there, but being through the contact, being part of their soul. So we have to learn we can do the same, as we are the creators of our own physicality and giver of the dimension in this physical world. It's our soul who has decided for us to have this physicality, not our physicality dictating the soul. So we can change a lot through the work of our soul. And the sooner we understand this, we stop going to the next level, to the next point of elevation of the soul of the man, to understanding more detachment from physicality. And try it. Try to reach the people of these islands. Try to reach the world leaders, that you elevate their souls to the level of peace. You will see the change will come. And it's coming. It's there, it's happening. Paul brought a lot of attention to the country. It'll be there. There'll be some changes, but we'll see, because we are affecting, we are putting, not, as I said in the last talk with him on Sunday, on the president and the government, but on the opposition, on the Christians, on the Muslims. You have to elevate the whole lot. You have to bring everybody up, that they see what was all this fight for. Most probably there will be no need for us to move to negotiate. I hope not. Because they reached the point of, the position changed suddenly. Why? because so many of us got concerned, so many of us gave from our soul to change. We listened, we understood, and with it, we gave from our soul. We created that change. And now it suddenly changed. This is what I said many times. Oh, this is what I thought, and now it happened. This was my wish, and it happened. The wish of us was peace in that country. It'll have some turmoil. But if we keep our wish, which is giving from our soul, through sincere way, not just because we have to, we'll see the government, the people will change. It was just like a wind going through the city. In a way, it was a test for the Keshe Foundation souls to start training themselves and showing we do not need to be there, because we already been there. It's just quiet suddenly. Everything is back to normal. How come? Printed money was there to change. People got killed, people got burned, and suddenly quietness. How much of it was the wish of the Keshe Foundation supporters who wished and supported and gave? Understand? We have to realize we're getting tested, and these tests are for us to go step by step to understand, to decipher the power of the soul of the man. Maybe these One Nation meetings makes One Nation from the soul of the man, not the physicality of the earth, of this planet. Thank you very much.
I love you, Mr. Keshe.
I am present. Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
I am present. Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe.
I am present.
I am present. So grateful.
I am present.
I am present.
I am present,
I am present.
Caroline.
I am present, Stefania.
I am present.
I'm
I'm
present.
present. That's Tom.
I am present.
I am present.
I'm present, Rui.
Okay, Caroline, do you think we should wrap things up for today, or?
I think so, Rick. I
Okay.
think so, Rick. And go out with a beautiful spirit in support of all the ones who are needed, and our souls will reach them in the beauty and the magnificence of giving. Thank you very much, team. Thank you, knowledge seekers. Thank you, council members, for your presence.
I think our next meeting will be the Knowledge Seekers Workshop on Thursday, I believe, at usual time, 9 a.m. Central European time. And do we have another One Nation, One Planet planned, Caroline, do you know? For Thursday, like we did last week?
I think we're going to move it till Friday night, 6 o'clock again.
Okay, we'll confirm that then later and put up the notices in the usual places.
Rick, this is Tom. I've just dropped the PDF file into the chat there amongst all the I am presents. Somewhere you will find the PDF file I was talking about for the Super Adobe information. So if anybody wants to catch that before the chat closes, just to have a look, scroll up and you'll see it's there if you want to download it. Thanks.
Thank you, Tom. It will be going out now. I put it up already.
Wonderful. Thanks a lot.
Great, that's perfect. And people that are in the Zoom, you can click on the little more button and the arrow, and you can, I believe you can save the chat. Oh, I'm not seeing it on my chat here. Oh yeah, there's a save chat function where you have all the links and so on will be saved.
And if anybody loses it in the chat and they want to get a copy, I've got it, or Caroline's got it now, so we can send it through to you if you need it.
Caroline's got it. It'll be through the entire internet within seconds, I believe.
It's already gone, Rick. Don't worry.
I mentioned time. Time is irrelevant, actually. We have instant communications more and more here. It's very good. Thank you, Caroline, for your work that way. It's amazing. Connecting people. All right, Flint, I think it's time.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for attending the 13th One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace for Tuesday, October 24th, 2017.